This is Ross Carpri with Keller Williams Metro South again. We're coming to you to kind of explain the things that a buyer or seller need to know in the market today. I've got with me Andy Galliano from Galliano Mortgage. I'll bring him
Hey,
on in
everybody.
just a second. But what I want to do today is talk to specifically to buyers. Today, in today's time, people are trying to figure out, is it better to rent or is it better to purchase a home? Now, being a realtor, my answer is always going to be to purchase a home. But the reason for that, in the old days when you had rent that was $300 and $400 a month, it might be easier to say I'm going to rent for a year or two and get established and then work my way up to purchase a home. But nowadays, rent is $1,500, $1,800, $2,000, $2,500 a month. And you have to really sit back and think, am I better off renting an apartment or am I better off purchasing a home? Well, with those numbers, in my opinion, I think you're better off purchasing a home so that you can build up some equity and kind of work your way up to a second and a third and a fourth home down the road.
Yeah.
But you have to start somewhere and you have to build up some equity. You cannot do that in an apartment. And another thing to look at, when you purchase your home, you have your own property. You don't have anyone above you or below you to make noise, or if they have children that are not sleeping at night. All those are factors that you have to think about when you're in an apartment. So my answer to that would be to purchase a home. And in order to do that, obviously, you have to get pre-qualified with a lender to see what my house note's going to be. How much am I going to have to put down on this property? How much are my closing costs going to be? What are the things that I'm going to need to purchase a home? Now, between Andy and myself, we can make that happen, but we have to be notified in order to do that. So in just a few minutes, I'm going to turn it over to him. He's going to tell you the things that you need to do to get pre-qualified, and it's a lot better to do it up front than on the back end. When you go into it in the beginning, you know what you can afford. You have an idea of what your house note's going to be. You have an idea of how much your down payment's going to be. All of those questions are answered up front in the beginning. And as far as we're concerned as a realtor, that's what we prefer, because we don't want to sell you a home that's going to put you out of your budget. We want to sell you something that you can move into, enjoy, and spend time with your family and friends. So having said that, let's get pre-approved. And in order to do that, I'm going to bring Andy on now with Galliano Mortgage so he can tell you some of the steps that you need to do to get pre-approved.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ross. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to do these videos with you and to educate people, and that's the thing. To me, I think that's one of the biggest issues that most buyers have. One of their fears is probably the better way to say it, is that they're going to get into this process of buying a home and they're not going to know anything, and someone's possibly going to take advantage of them, or they're going to lose money along the way or something like that. And of course, you and I know, because of the work that we do, that neither of us are going to let that happen. So, you're going to be looking out for them on the real estate end. We'll be looking out for them on the mortgage end. And, providing that education, just like these videos do, is important as we go through the process of actually putting a contract on a house and getting a mortgage. So as far as the pre-approval process goes, well, let me walk it back just a little bit. So one of the first things that we do that's a little different than a lot of mortgage companies today is that we'll do an actual pre-qualification. The pre-qualification is me giving my 30 years worth of experience. That's me giving my opinion as to whether or not I think someone's going to have a problem getting approved for a mortgage. To do a pre-qualification, typically there's no credit pull. We're just having a conversation of, okay, how much money do you make? How much are your debts? What do you think your credit scores are, and that type of information. So it's a very informal process, a pre-qualification is. But to me, I think it's necessary, because the last thing that I really want to do is send someone to our loan application to get pre-approved, and I know good and well they're not going to be able to get approved. Let's say they just started a new business 3 months ago. They quit their job. They have no other source of income than this new business. Well, I know that that person's not going to be able to buy, because the guidelines say that that person needs to be self-employed for 2 years. So we can walk through that process together with a pre-qualification, and really, use that as an educational opportunity to teach someone about, you know, what what issues they may have specifically in regards to their qualifications for a loan. Now, with that being said, I cannot discourage, and I will not discourage someone from actually wanting to apply. So even if I tell that person, hey, I think you're going to have a hard time qualifying, I have to tell them, even though I say that, you still legally have the right to apply for a mortgage. I will never deter you or stop you from applying to get approved for a mortgage. So once that person does apply, we point them to our application online. They apply for the mortgage. We send them a link for them to have their credit pulled. They authorize the credit pull. And once we have those two things back, we get the application back and we get the credit report back, then we can run that applicant through the automated underwriting system, and hopefully we get an approval on that application. If not, and there's some things that need to be tweaked or modified in order to get that person approved, we can run some different what if scenarios to say, well, so this buyer can't get approved with this debt that they have on their credit, but what if they paid off one of these debts? Could they get approved that way? So those are things that we can do and walk through and really work with buyers to help them be able to get approved for a mortgage and buy a home. And so that approval process that you mentioned is crucial, because today in this real estate market, I don't believe there's a seller out there that is going to entertain an offer from a buyer who has not been approved for a mortgage. And
Absolutely correct.
you're the real estate expert, so I would rely on you heavily for that. But
Absolutely correct. We've had cases where there's been multiple offers, and the first question a seller will ask, who is approved and who is not?
yeah,
And if we tell them, well, this one's really wants the house, but they're not quite approved yet, that really means nothing to a seller. They're
yeah,
looking at the bottom line. They're looking at what's in front of me right now. Who can buy this home without it being a problem? Or who can buy this home without it taking a long time or delay because they're not pre-approved? So you're absolutely right in that regard.
yeah. One other thing I want to throw out there, Ross, for people who are renting, who are thinking about buying, is that there's something called the cost of waiting. And it is just what it sounds like. It is the cost of waiting to purchase. And that's something maybe you and I should pick up in another video in the future
I think so.
and address that. I think that's something that buyers really need to pay attention to. They say, well, I'm going to wait until interest rates drop. And that's generally and historically, I would say, has been a bad move to make
Sure,
financially. And
sure.
so I think we would do well to talk about that at
I
some point in the
agree.
near
And
future.
I agree. And then also it's almost like saying, gas is $4 a gallon. I'm going to wait till it drops to $2 before I start driving again. I mean,
Yeah.
that just doesn't make sense. You have to go with what's out there right now. And what I always tell people too is, look, okay, you're paying $1,500 a month, let's say. Multiply that times 12.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that figure is astronomical. multiply that times 2, because a lot of people like to stay in an apartment for a couple of years. You're probably looking in the range of $25,000 or so that you will never see again. You will never be able to utilize it. You're just paying to stay in your apartment. Whereas if you had a home, that 25,000 equity could turn into something bigger than that down the road as property values increase. So we definitely need to have that conversation in another video, but it's not feasible to wait till interest rates drop.
No,
Because so many buyers now, or sellers now, excuse me, so many sellers now are even buying down the interest rate for the buyer. So that's even a better opportunity. So it's never a great idea to wait.
yeah, totally agree with you. Well, this this has been good. I appreciate appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk about this a little bit. And if there are any buyers out there who want to just have that preliminary discussion with me to get pre-qualified, I'd be more than happy to do that. And my contact information will be in the video, but you can reach me at 205-979-4412 extension 1. And I'm Andy Galliano with Galliano Mortgage, and I'd be glad to help you and just have a casual conversation with you to start out. And if you want to pursue it and move forward further in the process of getting pre-approved, I'd be glad to help with that as well. So, and then we can get you to Ross afterwards.
Perfect. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
Also, if you need any questions on the real estate side of the business, give me a call. Ross Carpri with Keller Williams Metro South, 205-601-0123. I'll answer any questions that you have over the phone. I do get text messages as well, and they're all free. So give me a call if you want to talk. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks.